Thank you for joining us to this development of professional development. I guess we're going to start with having you all introduce yourself. And if you could give me an idea of your association with Little Lord and the shows you've worked on. Well, some of you have worked on a lot of them, all of them. And what else you do, actually, theater-wise.
Hi, I'm Kate Weber. I have done one Little Lord show. One and a half, I guess I would say, Skinamarink and Peanut Butter Show. And I first saw Bambi, the fucker, at the Brick. Back in 2015, we decided that was the year, and absolutely fell in love with it. I love how Little Lord takes text and plays with it, and I was like, that is so much fun, and I'm just excited that I get to be a part of playing with that.
Sure, why not?
Hi, I'm Laura Von Holt. I am actually a co-founder of Little Lord. Michael and I met in 1998, and we went to college together. And I've done like 13, almost all of the shows. Almost all the shows, yeah. Outside of theater, as you'll find out in my bio in January, I write romance novels under a pen name. Multiple. Oh, the pen name is Laura Lovely. It's my first name, but a different last name. Keep it easy.
I'm Mo Angelos, and this is my first Little Lord show, and I am thrilled to be here. And I saw Skinamarink and loved it, and I am very grateful to be a part of this company, and I'm, like a downtown, Manhattan theater person, and I love being in Brooklyn.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm R.N. Healy, and I saw Skinamarink in 2019. I'm still haunted by it. And this is my first show with Little Lord, and I am a writer and sometimes performer. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Michael, you go.
Me? Oh. I'm Michael Levinton, which we established, artistic director of Little Lord. We started making stuff in 2007, and then in 2009, we did Babes in Toyland at the Ice Factory, and Bob Lyons is like, "What's your company's name?" And I was like, "Oh shit." So I had a friend's father who used to bully me by calling me Little Lord Fauntleroy. Because we used to do Babes in Toyland every year in these yellow knickers, so it tracked. So we just claimed that name. So we've been operating under Little Lord since 2009. And besides this is my main artistic outlet, but I work in nonprofits arts as a financial consultant. So very appropriate for the themes of this play.
We have one back here too. Hi, I'm Morgan Lindsay Tashko. I'm a creative producer and deviser, performer with Little Lord, proudly, since 2016, 10 years. Wow, yeah, now is the time. Now is the best time. Now was that show was the first show that I did at Abrams Art Center. But I had actually known of Little Lord since their inception, of downtown, art making, etc. And I am also a nonprofit arts consultant. Yeah, that's me.
I'm Meg McCary. I think I've known Michael for over 20 years. And I did a lot of sort of Little Lord workshops before I was in Skinamarink and Peanut Butter Show. And I work with a lot of downtown theater people over the last, couple decades or so. And in addition to that, I have a podcast all about growing up in the 80s in New York City, desperately seeking the 80s.
So I'm very excited that we have quite a few people here who not only saw Skinamarink and in the audience too, but then thought, I want to be in that. Like, more of that, please. So it's a very simpatico. I think if you saw that show and you thought, I want to not just, I love that, but I want to be in something like that, I think we're going to be friends. So I'm very curious, like very selfishly and personally, like because you kind of describe yourself as like you do device work. Mm-hmm. Can you explain what your idea of that is?
Yeah, I guess I should hold this.
Yeah, hold that.
I don't know, it's very, it's hard whenever you're applying for something, because I never call myself a playwright or a director or performer, because it's kind of everything. But we talk about them as junk spectaculars, just built with found text, stolen text, stuff we found from the thrift stores, transcribed things, games we play that then become text, that again get distilled down until we can't remember, where it came from or who wrote it. So it is devised in that, like, these games are introduced and things are collaged and piled on top of each other, and then playwright, like, not WRITE, but like wrought, to actually like take it and help shape it. So we always say, I mean, the final one who presses like print on the script is me, but the scripts always say by Michael Levinton and Little Lord, and that the contribution really is everyone who develops the work. And there's there's 2 more people in the show who aren't here this weekend, but then there's maybe 5 or 6 more people on top of that who've done one workshop or another over the years with this, and whose text remains in the show in some place or another. So really I come in with an idea, or with one source text, or with a bunch of text, and then we play from there. But not, I assume, I don't know, I haven't been a member of another devise company, not just from an idea. It's not necessarily community generated. It's more me kind of saying, hey, let's play this. What can we make of it?
So then how does that work in that? I mean, opening this to everybody here in the company, but like, how does that work concretely? Because like, I'm always wondering, I'm very curious as someone who sees the show. Well, it's already hard enough to like, I feel like it would be like herding cats. Mm-hmm. But in the best possible way, I guess. But like, how does it work to shape something like this? Like, so when you start, because you have like one, like for instance, let's take this show, for instance. Yeah. Okay, so what was the germ of the idea?
Yeah, so some of the shows, like Bambi Fucker Cafe House, which was the full title of that, like started with, started with like the text, and it's like, okay, we're going to work from Bambi, and then everything that Vienna between the wars and Zionism and everywhere that takes you. And then Skinamarink also, it came from these beautiful little children's primers. This one came more from a reaction from Skinamarink, from this idea of children and education and indoctrination and sending them out into the world, and then them coming back no further developed, just grown. So, I mean, really the idea started, I always fall in love with spaces, and after we did Peanut Butter Show at Target Margin, I really just saw people in colored sweatshirts, like supermarket sweep, in a baby pool with like ranch dressing being poured over them. It was just an image I had. It felt very Double Dare.
We went with that.
So that kind of like, stuck in my craw, and then there were thoughts of what it could be, what it meant to have professional development sessions, and this one really started with just a ton of brainstorming, paper on walls, what are chairs in a circle? What if you walk into a space folding chairs in a circle? What are all the implications of what that could be? Is it Tupperware? Is it group therapy? and really going from each of those and saying, okay, is there interesting text we can pull from here? Where are they overlapping? I'm the only cis male up here, but then we were talking about how so much of it was female coded with Tupperware and with supermarket sweep and with knitting circles and witches' covens and like kind of going in those directions. So it's just a lot of spitballing and saying, basically every day we gather and we sit in a circle and we're like, okay, what's still sticking out to you from yesterday? Like, what did you go home and you can't get out of your head, and really going that way. But yeah, there is so much that's not in this show. There's so much paper, so many Google Docs with archival in the title, saved just in case.
So do you all gather material from, like, what kind of sources? Like, what do you all bring to this?
So for this one, I think the first time we really started was like Aunt Karen's farm, right? Yeah. So we had a residency at Aunt Karen's farm, and I think you had we just had a lot of papers on the wall that we like brought in, inspirational images, and then there were all these random bookshelves, and so we ended up stealing books from there and like reading them to each other and writing down like lines.
They're borrowed.
Borrowed these books. We left them there. Yeah, I think. Don't ask. And then I think we played some game, like This Is Me, This Is How I Look Like. We were also with the idea of like, are we back? Because the last time we did a show was 2019, and there was some drama. It was fine, and then it was COVID, and then we were like, is theater dead? Are we dead? Like Michael and I closed up our storage unit. And we were like, we have died, and then we were like gathering again with people who'd been in shows, and we were drawing pictures of ourselves and like to explain like, over the course of this time where we didn't see each other, like now I have changed and this is how my body feels, and then that got devised into like other texts. So it was a lot of like game playing and brainstorming, and then a lot of transcribing into Google Docs, and then following workshops there was like a workshop I used to teach. We brought some text in. There was like trainings from corporate trainings, like people brought in like, how your Asana works, like that kind of thing. So it's like a lot of popcorn ideas, and then and reading and sharing things that seem relevant or that we found.
I think it's also interesting that we went down a lot of trails that then got abandoned because it just didn't seem to fit. And at Aunt Karen's farm, there was, I think Michael and I watched like many an hour of like 1960s puppets on TV, and I mean that could have gone somewhere, but then it kind of didn't, and so it didn't. So it's sort of like discovering what the show is by what sticks, what's sticky.
But how do you decide when something sticks or not? What if there's one person who's very attached to something? Like, how does it work?
That's the first rule, is don't get attached. Yeah. There's still a piece of text from 2011 that I'm still mad about because I got attached. And Michael told me don't get attached. And then he gave it to Rodney, and Rodney got to say it, and so don't get attached. Yeah.
I think that a phrase you will hear consistently throughout rehearsal is, "Oh, but I love that text," and it's like, and it is something that we are just all like, "Oh, but that's so good," and it's just like because we're putting a puzzle together, it just means that it's a piece for a different puzzle, and it's it's just not going to work that round, but it is like you do have to go. The love affair we had during that time with that piece of text is over, and it's better to have loved than to not have loved at all, kind of a thing.
And also just to say there, I mean, you would think like, oh, well then it comes down to me, and it really doesn't. That there's this whole section, and I could not find where it fit in the play, and I was very happy to just cut it. But I knew how much it meant to everyone else, and so then we just had to do the work to find out. And now I feel, I mean, if you see it in January, you'll let us know. I feel like we finally figured out where it fit, what version it should be, and actually then it becomes kind of the heart of the piece. So I think it's in just constant dialogue.
Does anybody want to add to that, or you?
I think I'll say it's a little bit of a tangential, but it's also something that's so fun about performing with Little Lord, because so typically you're coming in and you're like, this is our text and these are our words and this is our performance, and like, yeah, Michael's already shaking his head. He's like, no, like we're
2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Right. And so you really are here making the choice that you're making in front of you, that you have at this moment. And yesterday I felt this way about it, and today I feel this way about it. And it's nice that we love having you all here, and it's also, we would do it, anyway. It is the performance feeling, right? You're finding it where you are, and so that also, I think, helps to release some attachment, because there could also be times when you come in, you're like, I do not want to say this, I do not want to do this at all, and then once you get in and we're all here, it's like, oh, I received it, thank you. That's what I needed in a way.
I think just to answer like a concrete way, like it's also that we have worked with people before or work with them over a period of time, so we have like a shortcut working language, and this sounds so like we just know how to work together, but we do. And I think because we have multiple workshops over years and years, that you know who to trust and like how to trust each other's instincts. And so like if someone's fighting for something, we'll keep it working for longer, but it's also like it's going to be an ensemble piece, so you can't get attached. It's not going to be about you. You don't have a preconceived character, and like and to the heart of that tonight, you saw us like open envelopes and get text. So like I know I'm number one, but I don't know what I'm saying until that thing. So we're all familiar with every bit of it, but you don't own anything. You're not attached to anything. Like if it works better at this moment for me to carry an ear, I'll carry the ear. Great.
So you were talking about workshopping for extended periods of time, and I feel that American theater very often a huge problem is that there's no time. There's very little rehearsal period. There's little of the resources, whether it's money or space or time, feels very narrow and limited, and you're talking about working on things for years. So my question is, like, when do you know it's finished, other than having a deadline? Because you're exponential and you have to have
exactly.
something.
And when we say we've been working on it for years, like not constantly.
Right. No. Of
like
course.
It's been 5 weeks total with long gaps of nothing in between.
But at the same time, it is a real question, though. Like, when do you know? Okay, well, we're good with this, or we're not, but we still have to do it.
We got to the point with this material. We had 2 residencies at Mercury Store in 2023, and they were both so wonderful. And we got to the end of the last one, and I said, like, I don't want to keep working on this until we know that we're doing it. Because if we keep working on it, then we'll keep working moments that work until they don't work, and we'll keep trying to add on. And so really, like, 2024, we did nothing. And really until Bailey, who's here, said, oh, you guys should come, would you be interested in coming doing Exponential, is when we picked it back up again and realizing, the world has changed since 2023. How does this material change? But also just being, right, we don't have the luxury of taking a ton of time off work. And so we really are reliant on opportunities like this, opportunities like Mercury Store, Aunt Karen's Farm, Exponential, to say, hey, we can give you a week, we can give you 2 weeks. And then we say, okay, can you take off 2 weeks of work? In January, we will have 1 week of rehearsal. And it's both for the feeling of the show, to keep it fresh, to keep it a little dangerous, but also just, I want a large team for this show, and I know if it's a 4-week rehearsal, I'm not going to be able to afford people. I'm not going to be able to afford space. So I think we're working with those restrictions for that, and also in keeping it mobile. We don't have money for a huge design, so how can we? Our biggest scenic expense is the storage unit to put this stuff in, and then we'll pop it in a car and move it along.
So you talked earlier about how COVID was a really big break. Obviously for the industry in general. Like, do you feel that how did it impact your practice in terms, or the way you think about theater even?
Hugely. We were, we had really great momentum in 2018, developing Peanut Butter Show and then doing Skinamarink. And then, and we started meeting in the fall to, we had one session of this in the fall of 2019 until I was like, I didn't want to work on it then because I wasn't sure what it was. And I had come in with all this supermarket sweep language. And I don't think anyone else knew what it was either. It wasn't ready to share with anyone. So we moved on to working with something else. And then, then COVID, and we really just used it. We were like, wow, we can breathe for a little bit. We don't have to, because we don't have to build on that momentum that we had. And I think we found that we love the analog. We love these karaoke machines from the 80s and cassette tapes and the idea of trying to transform the company into something digital that Josh Gelb did so well, who's involved in the show. Amazing. It's not how I work on things. So no, we really, I think it was, we kept talking about it as your cat that gets out and doesn't come back. And you're like, is the cat dead? Did the cat just not come back? So I think that's what we've, when people are like, is Little Lord dead? It's like, the cat's out.
Cat's back.
Maybe the cat will come back.
Cat's back.
And then people would approach us. John Wisniewski approached us, and he's like, I really miss Little Lord. Here's this opportunity, Aunt Karen's Farm. Do you have anything you'd want to work on? I said, sure. So no, it really has been from other people saying, no, you should work on something.
And do you feel, for everybody here, do you feel that, the post-COVID years in New York, how do you think the kind of, let's just say off landscape as a shorthand has changed or not? Do you think there has been a kind of really radical change or we're kind of coming back to a kind of weird status quo, I guess?
Yeah, the same, what we were saying about space, losing spaces, and then the cost of spaces, and the cost of labor, and wanting to pay people, and just kind of working in that new reality. We've always been very dependent on residencies, but absolutely, and when we came back to do this, we're operating with the money in the bank because we were like, the first thing you hear from us in 7 years can't be, hey, we're raising money. It's got to be like, no, we made a show, we made a thing, come sit in the art. In February, maybe we'll raise money. But
but post-COVID, just so many spaces where we would have a place are gone, right? And developmental spaces. And on the other hand, we have all these new, very fabulous spaces like the Perlman and, Little Island and the Shed and okay, all right, how many do we need, okay? So there's that kind of weird investment in a sort of higher level of art, I don't know, commerce, art, whatever it is. And then we have many companies like Little Lord. It's like the people at the top and the people at the very bottom are fine. Because at the bottom, we're a modest company, and so we're the same. We never had money. We still don't have money. But the ones in the middle really have suffered, I think, and we've lost so many companies and spaces since the pandemic, and we seem to have emerged into an algorithms turbocharged entertainment landscape where it's about clicks somehow in terms of how you get people to come to your shows and advertising models and all that, and that's very vague, but I'm very mad about it. So anybody else?
I think that's also interesting because that was a big guiding question at the beginning, especially at Aunt Karen's Farm and the first time at Mercury Store, is that we were like, are we back? Are we gonna have to shut down again? There was having been in New York throughout all the pandemic, it was if we get together, will we just die? But then having people be like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? We're like, oh, people want the cat to come back. That was nice, but I also, Michael and I talked about this, we both turned like 40 in 2020, and there was a feeling of like, is everything different because I'm old or because the world died? You know, and like those, right, yes, so, yes, and so like that was just like a flavor to coming back. And I also, like, for me personally, when we did come back together, I was like, oh yeah, like I missed this, like I missed the people, I missed being in a room, I missed being like, so I kept saying joyfully humiliated all the time. And I, you know, we used to joke when we were like in our 30s, being like, we don't want to be 40 and still doing it like this, but like here we are. And I was like, no, like when we were, you know, we've always been scrappy, but we used to be like, and then we'll get a tour and we'll do this, and we had like ambitions, and now I'm like, actually the like deep pleasure for this is like I love the material, but it doesn't matter what the material is. The fact is that like we decided to like, everyone just put their minds together and our hearts together, and we're like, sure, this is the idea, we're working on it, let's all bring what we have to it, let's just do it, and whatever, we keep seeing like this space provides. So like we have to make decisions based on where we're going to do it in January, we have to make decisions based on where we're showing today, we have to make decisions based on who's available. So like all of our tools are still there of like, we always had to make decisions based on our resources. And I think for this play, the biggest resources and like the lesson out of COVID is that like the resources were the people and the artists that were available and were willing to contribute. And that's like to me, that's also the story, is like everyone's coming to this workshop, they're coming to the space, we're all like, are we developed, how old are we, what's happened, is this helping, what are we doing? And also like, then we let the audience in and we're like, does that help? Still an artist.
Did you want to say something?
No, you guys are great. I mean, I guess the only thing I'll add is that it was an interesting experience being, you know, I think as Michael had said, we're both nonprofit arts consultants. And so one of the variables for me and us, I'm trying to not feedback. Is that working? Does that help? Great. One of the variables for me was, yes, of course, like, you know, is it worth catching a deadly virus for? And then also, like, so much of my other work was poured into, my other resources were poured into working for these companies that were, you know, we're able to do digital work, that we're able to keep moving, that like have massive, that really contribute to the infrastructure and the landscape in a very different way. And so I think I certainly shifted my creative thought and process to be around that more as well. And I think now coming, as I have like started to actually come back more to New York and go out and see shows, what I am noticing too, and I'm not particularly partaking as much because I'm not of this age, but I actually do see kids in their 20s still making art in Bushwick, right? Like there's new small venues are popping up again, like out of necessity, right? So it's not actually going anywhere, it's just that you know, we have to look into different spaces to find it, and like that's
and Meg's
amazing,
found them and
right?
played a lot with them. And
yeah, the digital natives, as I call them.
Should we circle back a little bit to the new show? Although I hear that you don't call them shows, or
just this one.
Just this one. Okay.
A seminar or a session or something.
So what is the format of it? Is it really shaped as, like, is form-driven content here?
Sort of. I mean, I think it's just in the vaguest
or
terms,
vice versa, actually.
It's adults trapped in a room forced to go through exercises, and like at its core. And I think, like in terms of what you were actually just saying about COVID, one of the things is, you know, we want this piece, you know, to be able to exist in a beautiful space like this, but also in a church basement, but also in a rec room, in non-theatrical spaces. And the thing in January, you know, we were going to be in Target Mermagen's Doxy Theater, which, you know, huge, glorious warehouse space. And I got there and I said, you know, something's not right. There was so much ladders and theatrical flats and props that you could see stored, and I was like, that's That's not what makes me want to come back to making art. And then we went upstairs and saw one of the rehearsal rooms with the drop ceilings and the fluorescent lights and the broken tile, and I said, yeah, this is it. So yeah, to have all of that uncertainty of, I'm going to a theater in Sunset Park, oh, I'm going upstairs, and what is this room, and are the fluorescents going to be on the whole time, and is this an actual professional development session that I'm watching? Am I going to be asked to participate at all?
Is that infernal music going to play the entire time?
Absolutely. That's a beautiful tape from The Subliminal Winner. That's my father's, my dad has, at least 40 or 50 self-help tapes from the 80s, which have been, wonderful inspiration. But yeah, I mean, really, chairs in a circle in a room, and what comes with that. Within a set time, you get the space, you get knocked out of the space. I was just watching. My partner Matt's here. There was some movie with Jill Clayburgh, and it was a church basement. And it was the divorced men's group. And then they were meeting around in a circle, and then a woman comes in, and she's like, it's 9:00, it's time for the divorced women's group. And then they all swap. And kind of just setting up that structure of the meeting and what's going to happen. Who are these people? What are they getting developed to?
Does anybody want to add to the form? It feels very much like a kind of follow-up to Skinamarink, which was also very much about indoctrination, as you said earlier, and groupthink, except with children, and now it's adults. Do you feel like it's a pattern that just like duplicates itself as we go along, this kind of like this closed-off environment? I don't actually see that all that much at the theater, I feel. Maybe I'm missing out on something.
I mean, they're definitely related. This, really felt like with Skinamarink we were getting to a place where it was like, now we're going to launch Little Lord, and then I was like, nope, take a break. So this really feels very much, and even though it's adult, it's very, the fact that all the sweatshirts are oversized, that it really feels like kids playing dress up, that a lot of the inspirations are things that are very nostalgic from my childhood. That I think it's related, and I kind of lost my train of thought. But
No, just to relate it back, I think with Skinamarink and with a lot of other stuff that we've done, the concepts and ideas were mined for nostalgia of our childhood. We like Bambi, and we just had a lot of things like that. And then with this one, I feel like sometimes we're almost like, we thought we would have a certain idea of ourselves as grown-ups, and we don't know, as a grown-up now, I don't know what that is, and which is also a feeling I think I had coming out of COVID of I don't actually, this isn't what I thought they would give me. And so this is our nostalgia for our idea of when I'm a grown-up, I'll listen to this self-help tape, and then I'll make good sales, and I'll be an important manager, and I'll have a 401k, and I'll I'll just know how to do it. And so that is in a similar way, we've had nostalgia about childhood, and now we have nostalgia about growing up. Yeah.
And also just kind of some of the infantilizing around our industry and artists themselves, right? I remember when I was when I met Michael officially, I was working at an arts organization, and we were a service organization, which means that you're constantly trying to develop artists. And I don't know why it was such a light bulb went off one day, and I was like, oh my God, we're never developed. We just don't, it doesn't ever end. We're gonna have to just constantly, this is it. This is what we're doing forever. And that's the success. We made it. We did it.
Keep developing.
Develop.
The endless cycle of theater development.
Yeah, exactly. We did it. Now we're going to do it again.
So, how do you think this reflects the way you on the way you work, actually, this kind of development process. And for the company, like how much of it do you bring, how much of yourself do you bring in? Because I think there's often an assumption, especially in American theater, I think that like partly it's like auto-fictional in a way, or it's drawing from, you're looking inside, you're bringing in something that is very you, the authentic, in huge quotation mark, the authentic you. Like, how does it work in that, which is people really, the idea of putting yourself out there, the idea of shame, the idea of showing who you are to others.
Yeah. I mean, shame and humiliation has always been part of the work. Laura said, like, you never get to look good in a Little Lord show.
Never gonna be pretty.
But I think that's more freeing. Then you get to, and then you get to act the fool, and then you get to find what, comes of that. And what's interesting, we had a thought, and we, had a session in 2019, and then we were developing it. And then I transitioned from my consulting work to a full-time job, doing this type of work for a firm halfway through us making this. So suddenly these things which were kind of like these very foreign ha ideas were very much like my everyday life. So then coming in with the material, I had a much different visceral reaction to it, and playing with that, like where we have this whole this wonderful book we found at Aunt Karen's farm called How to Write an Email, or How to Email Well. How to Email
from like 2001.
It's from 2005.
2005.
And then, and taking that and how triggering some of that was. And then also this like beautiful self-help cassette tape my father had called Motivation to Exercise that was all about starting a walking program. And like in taking those and developing, the two of them, of this meditation of how to be a better emailer. So yeah, no, all of it is it's all very personal. And as soon as it's not personal, I don't think I'm attracted to it anymore.
I also want to say that I think as a performer, one of the things that surprised me about working so much with Little Lord specifically in this way is that you think you have it in your mind, like how you're going to perform, right? And then you show up, and then you actually have an entirely different set of reactions and sort of role assignments in that moment based on who's mirroring you, right? So I remember there's this moment in Skinamarink where Michael had at some point just sort of assigned me lines, and I was like, oh my God, I am a hot mess. Like I was like, at that point in my life, I was like the Morganizer. My name is Morgan. This is that was a thing. And I was like, I'm totally organized, and I can it's like hypervigilance, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized like, oh my God, no, I'm a hot mess. So I was kind of bringing this part of me that I thought was a thing, and then it fed back to me in a way, and I was like, oh. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
no, because I'm curious, like what.
So it is me, but it's like what people are assigning of me in a way that I was totally subconscious until I came into the space, and I was like, oh, and I can embrace that part of myself too. That's super fun.
So what has this process been churning out for all of you here?
This one in particular.
Yes, I can speak to that. I also have a second life as a arts administrator, and have done it as like a money-making way as I've been an artist. And there is just nothing funnier to me than like corporate life or office life as like someone who like rolls around on the floor in a room, like going blah, blah, blah to people's faces. And then you like see what like corporate drag is. And it's so funny to me. And in this way, we get to kind of like poke fun at the corporate drag. And like, it's this thing of like, when you sit in an office and you watch a training thing, you have to be like, and like be very serious, and then sign a piece of paper that said you took the training, right? And you have to do that every year. And there's a person whose job it is to file that every year. And so it was just fun to like get in this room and be like, yes, let's fucking talk about this. This is crazy that we do this all the time. And so for me, it's been very fun to like clownify, like sending emails or like, what is the best way to resolve a conflict in the workplace, you know? And to like walk through that I think it's been therapeutic for me, but it's also just been like, this is like, yes, because you're sometimes in these spaces where people don't have the dramatics or the levity, and it's like, yeah, can we just pause for a minute and talk about how silly this is and play with it? And it does feel like this nice moment to get to do that I'm really finding fun.
I think you wanted to, yeah.
I just wanted to respond to something you were saying earlier about, you know, making theater and bringing yourself to the and I think just from participating in Little Lord workshops for many, many years and seeing lots of different people come and go from the workshops, the people who I feel like really are able to successfully do this kind of work bring a lot of intelligence, a lot of curiosity. They're willing to put themselves on the line and also willing to swallow their ego. And that is a combination of a person that you just don't see everywhere. And that's not why everybody does this. So if that's the kind of person you are, you can turn that on, then you'll probably be successful in this room. But if not, that's okay. You can, watch it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Not this workshop.
So is there anything you want to add again about where the show is right now? For instance, like what do you think you still have to work on? What would you like to explore more? I mean, we were not sure exactly. We've only seen like, bits and pieces of it, so it's hard to say, okay, well, it needs more of this or that. Like, what's your arc? No, that's insane. But what do you think you would like to explore more, I guess?
I mean, there are definitely some major movements in the show that weren't reflected tonight, but I think like tonight we kind of were doing a few different like source materials. I mean, the circle and, the idea of like a group meditation or a sharing circle, or is it group therapy? Is it 12-step, and kind of playing with that. The idea of like embody and embodiment and body betrayal with this is me. That positive gossip, which we found as a corporate workshop team building exercise and then kind of, tweaked with. And then just existential Guess Who, which is a game I've played with friends for a while just because it's fun, but also just, who am I besides my job and, and the company I keep, and, am I a worthy person aside from my accomplishments? So, I mean, this, we've had, many, many set pieces. I think this week was, I gave them a script for the first time of saying we're doing it in this order on Tuesday, and it's changed several times since then. But right now we're working towards the January performances and saying this is what it is, and then saying that January is not the end of it, because maybe the next time we do it, it will be in a totally different space. We might have some of these people might not be available. We might have more people. We might, keep adding materials that, work. And then also as the years go on and how This Is Me has shifted over the years from when it went from like, horror show to, a celebration of, yeah, that's me too. So right now, the short answer is we're working towards January and just, trying to make a tight piece. But the larger answer is we're still, developed to a point of incompetence, developing until we devolve.
Evolving until you devolve. That's perfect. Anything else we want to?
I'll just do a really nice segue and say it has been so beautiful to be in this space in Red Hook, taking the ferry every day with Meg and Josh, and everything that's been available here has been we all say the space provides, and everyone who works here has been lovely, and it's also nice to know we're in the Red Hook artist community, and we've had a lovely week.
Yeah, absolutely.